Hi, everyone. We are here with Marcella of Canadian Connections, myself, Stephen Watt of Northern Lights Canada, and we're having a career workshop on building a LinkedIn profile that achieves results. And we're going to make a video of this. So if you weren't lucky enough to be here originally, you can watch at your own leisure on YouTube. Marcella, do you want to say a few words to our audience, such as it is?
I'll unmute myself. As Stephen said, my name's Marcella, and I'm co-founder of a not-for-profit organization called Canadian Connections. We're really excited to do this evening or this morning, depending on where you are, because we'd like to do many of these going forward. And I'm really grateful to Stephen that he's been able to put this together, because I think the subject that we're covering tonight is so important, especially once you're here. And I know that he has some great stories to share about how just making a little tweak on your LinkedIn profile can make such a difference in getting the job that you want. I noticed that we have Masjid. I'm so happy that you were able to join us. How are you? You have one word.
Hello, Miss Marcella.
Hi, there you go. Okay, I'm glad you were able to join us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, and so what we'll do, Stephen, I'll let you take it away. The only thing I'll just remind everybody is if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat. And then when we do break for discussion, I'll raise them so that Stephen can give them, can answer them for you. All right, I'll put myself on mute and take it away, Stephen.
Okay. So I put it on a different view, but it's all Marcella. So let's try gallery. And actually, you know what? Let's try share screen. And this way we can hopefully watch this PowerPoint instead of me. So here we are at our career workshop for Northern Lights and Canadian Connections. Welcome, everybody. Technical difficulties, I think we just had those. So let's say who we are. This is a Canadian Connections picture, actually, but I happen to be wearing my orange jacket in the middle of it, and we have a number of familiar faces. Canadian Connections and Northern Lights really work together so much that they're sometimes inseparable. Canadian Connections does a lot of resettlement. Northern Lights does a kind of 70-30 sponsorship and resettlement chart, pie chart. And but you know, we try to bring newcomers in through private sponsorship and then try to make sure they get the best start possible. And Canadian Connections does a lot of that, but kind of on the inverse proportion. And doesn't just deal with private sponsorship. So for this evening, we are going to talk about networking, the value of it for research and for making connections, the profile, meaning the LinkedIn profile, and how to get the parts right. So we're going to look at an anatomy of a LinkedIn profile and kind of best practices for each, and kind of tips and tricks. And then next steps, like once you have this amazing LinkedIn profile, you've made your connections, what do you do next? So that's the kind of overall plan. And we will have a couple breaks for quizzes. Those breaks could also be potentially for Q&A. So if someone is sitting on a burning thought, wait till you see the big quiz slide, and that's a time, it's kind of a free-for-all. I hear a dog. Oh, a child. I hear a child. Welcome to real life. Okay, so networking. Networking is everything in Canada. And, you know, in some countries, it kind of matters, like if your family is connected or whatever. In Canada, oh, I'm going to mute somebody. I'm muting you, Masjid. In Canada, we have a bit of a meritocracy, which means that it doesn't matter what your background is or who your uncle is. It just matters that people like you. But in order to have that networking effect, you have to meet a lot of people. And somebody pointed out that it's not what you know in Canada, it's who you know, which sounds kind of ominous, but it's not who you know, like, do you know an important person? It's just, do you know enough people that can get you to where you want to be? And those people can be any level of society, and they can be newcomers, they can be, you know, CEOs, they can be kind of very entry level positions, but somebody out there has the opportunity you need, and they are probably 3 steps from you, or 6 degrees of separation, as we say. So, you know, the lead on that job that you need is over here, and that's a friend of a friend of a friend. So you have to go to 14 dinner parties, 16 coffee chats, meet 21 people on the street until you find that line to the opportunity that you don't even know is there, but it's the one that will open doors for you. And that's networking. So when you're sort of building your network, one really important thing is just to be clear of what you want. Even if you want 21 things, like boil it down to 2 for simplicity's sake, and bring that into conversations. So the worst thing to say is, oh, I can do everything. But if you say, I want to be a project manager for a financial services firm, and you tell 12 people that, they will remember that. It'll stay in their head. And when they're at a dinner party with someone who works at a financial services firm, they will be like, oh, right, that guy. And they will remember that connection. So be clear on what you want, and then tell that, just drop it into conversations, casual dinner party, whatever, and drop it into conversations with friends, families, other newcomers, caseworkers. Achieve is an employment program. Let them know, because you don't know where that connection is, but you are probably 4 people away from the opportunity you want. That's kind of the power of networking, and it's everything in Canada. If I just digress 1 second, there's a hidden job market in Canada. So something like 70% of the jobs are positions are awarded to people outside of LinkedIn and Workopolis and all these things. It's called the hidden job market, and most of the good jobs are there, and you can only get there through networking, because somebody knows about that job at a company, and they're not going to put it out there to 10,000 people in the public. So you have to get at that job market through networking. I'm going to watch the clock so I don't spend as long on every slide as I just did on that one. So networking, how to do it. Now that COVID is kind of dying, but not really, as we know, there is more in-person get-togethers. So networking was really hard during COVID because it was all like Zoom calls, and you know, the best networking is person to person. So coffee chats are a great trick where I might be skipping ahead a bit, but if you kind of go on LinkedIn and look for people who have the job you want, you can cold call 20 of them, and one of them will respond, and you can say, hey, I really interested in your work, and I think you're doing really amazing, interesting work. Could I just talk to you for 15 minutes to hear about your experience? And it's called an informational interview, coffee chat. People in Canada will generally do it because people in Canada like to help. And that can be the beginning of your networking, because you're now talking to someone in your field who has the job you want. So you could have a coffee chat with somebody and say, that's so interesting, thank you. You know, you're basically listening. And at the end of it, you say, hey, is there anyone else you think I should talk to? They'll introduce you to their colleague or somebody else in the similar field. And that's how you get that chain going of 4 people to the golden opportunity. There are also kind of wider networking events, and some of them are now in person or going back to in person. Meetup has kind of informal, like, hey, we're all IT guys and we're going to meet at a shopping mall in downtown Toronto. Look for those. They're people in your industry. Eventbrite has slightly more formal. So this event you're watching right now was originally on Eventbrite, and there's tons of industry events on Eventbrite. Some of them are like giant, like 3-day, expensive thing at the convention center. And some of them are really casual, like downtown hotel, bar, downtown bar. Like LinkedIn will sometimes rent a bar and be like, we're going to talk about our latest product. So those will appear on Eventbrite. And then some of them appear on Facebook, but obviously Facebook and LinkedIn are mostly good for virtual connections, right? And we're talking all about LinkedIn today. I promise you, I won't totally talk through this whole thing. So we're still on networking, which is kind of like the big picture before we go kind of small scale on LinkedIn. When it comes to networking, get your elevator pitch ready. So I mentioned how it's much more helpful for people you're meeting if you have a very clear idea of what you want out of your career and where you're heading. But an elevator pitch is slightly longer or bigger than that. And what elevator pitch means is if you were trapped in an elevator with a, say, CEO, imagine you're riding the elevator and your big boss is in the elevator and you have 30 seconds to make an impression. What do you say? That's the elevator pitch. It means like, what do you say about yourself in 30 seconds that is clear and compelling and could open doors for you? So that's the 30-second elevator ride. You should have that for you should always have that up your sleeve, right? Because you never know when that opportunity will happen. You might be at a dinner and somebody says, hey, my friend here, he's got a giant company. He wants to meet you. And you're like, hi, I don't know what I want. So you should have an answer. And the answer is, if you can do it without sounding like you're bragging, it's who are you? What have you done? And what are your strengths? And then most importantly, what is your goal for the future? So that could be, hi, I'm Stephen. I work in IT. I've been doing it for 14 years. I won like Best New Employee Award twice. Yeah, and I'm really interested in AI. In fact, I'm taking a course in it right now, and I might have a job lined up, hopefully. This kind of thing, I just made that up. That was kind of horrible, but you get the idea. Oh, thank God, a quiz break. So this is my opportunity to, number one, stop speaking, and number two, make sure that we are indeed recording. And I do have a quiz. Do you have it, Marcella? Do you want to say it? Do you have it handy? I think you're muted. Unmute. You are muted. Okay, now you're unmuted. I have to unmute you again. Unmute.
Got it.
Okay, we can hear you. Go for it.
I don't have them. That was my
Okay,
answer.
I do. I was just,
But while you're looking for them, my question to everybody who's on the call today was, does anybody already have an elevator pitch? And would you like to pitch it to Stephen and just get a good critique? Anybody want to try? Because he's absolutely right. Elevator pitches are so important, as well as the informational interview. Because when you were talking about that, I was going to jump in and say that I had done a lot of those and with great success. So no elevator pitches. Anybody want to try? All right, go ahead and do the quiz.
okay, quiz. And everyone unmute yourself, even if you have a barking dog in the background. Unmuting you. Unmuting you. Oh, Arif Razai is here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God. Mohammed Rauf, unmuting you. So the quiz question is, name some ways you can network. And I don't know, is there a raise your hand feature on this?
There sure is, yeah.
Does anyone want to use it? If you don't, I'm going to single you out. And oh, Khalil. So Khalil
Right.
is ready to talk.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning and evening, all. So we can make network in different ways. So during the day or week, we are in some parties, meetings, or even in social media when we have, for example, some other meeting online. So we can talk and we can share some information and we can ask information, and we also can exchange the contact numbers, and we can talk later. And this is a kind of way of making network.
That's right. I like the kind of contact number thing, because it means you don't have to do it all in the moment, right? You're kind of saying, hey, yeah, we'll talk later, which kind of builds a relationship beyond just that moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that was,
Anyone else?
Arif Razai.
Yeah. Hello, Stephen, and hello. I don't know the lady. I don't know the name of the lady.
Marcella.
Marcella, sorry.
Yeah, Marcella. Well, good morning and good evening. One of the ways like that I do is that I like in social events like marriage or some party. So I meet people and I talk with them, and I try to know about them. And when I do so, I just try to get their contact, like social media or like something else. And after that, I get in contact with them. So I guess through that, some contacts. Thank you.
That's a good point. A really good point, that networking can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, use your moments of connection wherever they may be. A wedding is like a prime example. It's supposed to be about a couple getting married and celebrating, but they're giant networking events, really. And so are John, you can say hi to John.
I'm okay.
I took over his apartment because his computer is better than mine. But yeah, you're right. Everything can be a networking, and you know, like mosques and synagogues and churches are amazing networking sort of locus. You know, if you're on a sports team, you know, anywhere where people are gathering and sort of being communal are great networking opportunities. A lot of people get jobs from, like, you know, my book club or my, it's just amazing where job opportunities lie. So right now, for example, we have a lot of guys who want to work in the trades, and, you know, you just say, hey, do you have an electrician? And guess what? Everyone does. And that's what I mean. So it doesn't have to be like a professional gathering. It can often come out of your social life, basically.
Yeah. And I'll just throw in one more because it's one that I'm really involved with: volunteering. Volunteering is an absolutely great way to both network and to get a job, because in my case, I would say half the jobs I've gotten have been where I started as a volunteer first, and then when a job opportunity came up, I stepped into it. So
yeah.
Definitely in Canada, volunteering.
Yeah. And one more thing on volunteering is, if you don't yet have a like proper career job in this country, boy, does it look good on a resume to say that you were volunteering. Like, it's almost on par, sometimes more important than an actual paid job, because your paid job might be kind of like, you know, beginner, not that amazing, but your volunteer work might be like, oh my God, amazing. Like, you help those people do that. So volunteering is great. And the people you are volunteering with are probably very well connected and very invested in helping you. So volunteer. So we'll get to the kind of heart of the matter now, which is building your LinkedIn profile. And that's the topic of the day. So thanks for watching, everybody. Why LinkedIn? I mean, it's just another social media platform, but it happens to be the one that's pretty much entirely built around career building. And it's become kind of the main platform for, it's like the new version of the paper resume, to be honest. So among other things. So often people, like employers, instead of sort of saying, fax me your resume, like they might have done 40 years ago, they'll just type your name into LinkedIn and they'll check you out and they'll learn all sorts of things about you. And if you have problems with your LinkedIn profile, that's a big negative. And if you do the right things, that's a big positive. So it's kind of the resume replacement is an important part of it. And also, you know, it is a social media platform, which means you can socially do things on it that you wouldn't want to do professionally on Facebook or any other platform. You know, Facebook's not professional, nor is any other social media platform I can think of, right? They're kind of silly and fun and full of oversharing, but LinkedIn is like a suit. Like it's your professional self, and employers will look at it to know what kind of professional person you are. So yeah, good for networking. It also has this research angle, which I mentioned earlier. It's kind of a fun trick where you can look in LinkedIn for people, say in Toronto, who have that job title you want, and you can kind of look down and see how they got there, right? It's called reverse engineering almost. So it's like, say you were like, I want to be IT manager for a mid-sized startup. You could probably look that job title somehow in LinkedIn and find 12 people who have that. And then you could be like, okay, so they are now director. Before that, they were manager. Before that, they were coordinator. Before that, they were at a college program for IT. And before that, they did an undergraduate in social sciences or something. And if you look at 12 of those people, you can be like, oh my God, like this is clearly how you get to that job. So it's a clever way of doing that. And if you add a person on LinkedIn as a friend or contact, you can actually message them directly. Now, I know on LinkedIn, a lot of times people don't respond to those requests, but that is another use of LinkedIn, is you can actually connect to those people. There's tons of other, tons of other things that LinkedIn does, but, and if you were a LinkedIn professional or worker watching this right now, you'd be like, but we've got videos on how to do this, how to do that. They've got a lot of capability and they keep kind of expanding it, but I'm just telling you how I would use it personally. So here we are. So I don't know where we are in the video, but this is where everyone should start paying attention. This is actually what the video is about, or meeting. So there's a woman named Hanine Nana, who is kind of, anyone who knows her thinks of her as like future Prime Minister of Canada, as this picture kind of indicates. She's been in the Parliament. Yep. We've got Marcella. Yep.
Yeah. Could you actually enlarge your screen? So either hit the full screen, just so we can see your presentation in full, or put it in presenter mode. Because right now we also see this, the sidebar of the upcoming screens. If maybe right down at the bottom right corner, you have the little, keep going to the right. Nope, to the right. One more.
Is that it? Oh,
That's it. Perfect. Okay.
thank you.
It's a lot easier to see. Great.
Tech assist. Thank you, Marcella. So this is Hanine Nana. She is a Syrian Canadian who has, I don't know, she's got so many things happening that you would have to go to her LinkedIn profile to figure them all out. But books, art, music is one of the most amazing things. She's been on CBC. Anyway, I won't go on about her, but she graciously agreed to have us feature her LinkedIn profile as kind of the model of this because it's really well done. She did everything right. So here are the pieces of a good LinkedIn profile. You have the banner photo, which most people kind of leave as the default abstract gray circles LinkedIn thing. You can actually change that up. And if you keep it professional or not, I mean, if you're an artist, put art there, right? But that long banner, you can swap out and put something that kind of expresses who you are professionally. And then there's a headshot. Headshots are really important. They don't all have to be black and white, like frozen in the headlights kind of thing. Like, look how nice Haneen's is. It's kind of thoughtful. It's a little off center. We do have a friend, Marcella and I, named Farzad, who is an amazing photographer. So if you're in the Toronto area, keep that name in mind, because he could give you a headshot that will just be the essence of you, and so clear and beautiful. But if you're not near Farzad, who just got into OCAD today, congratulations, then have somebody you know with a DSLR camera and who can take a decent picture. Take one of you. It doesn't have to be like face on, like Haneen's. It's kind of like off a little bit, 3/4 shot, no eye contact. You don't have to get super artistic depending on the industry you're in. And actually that's a good point, that base the kind of style of how you do things like headshots and profile descriptions, base it on people in the industry, because every industry has a different style. Like if you're an artist, your headshot might be like insane. If you're an actor, it'll probably be black and white, smiling. If you're in finance, it'll be something else. You'll be wearing a suit. So pick the right style, but then do it well. Underneath that, you have name and summary, which I think are actually auto-generated largely, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Highlights, I think, are maybe auto-generated. In my own profile, I had media there where I just post like any news stories I've been in. So I'm a little adrift on what highlights are, but her highlights are amazing. And then about, I'm going to go on and on about, but I'll just keep things brief and say this is the top of a profile. I think there's like 7 parts to this, so I'll just keep things moving. Here we are, the about section. It should be, here's hers. So hers is, Haneen's is kind of very to the point. It's like current job, former job. I usually like the about section. I usually advise people to make this basically their elevator pitch in 3 sentences, saying who you are with a mix of statement and evidence and avoiding I. And I know that sounds so crazy, like what is he talking about? But I'll pull in some examples. But this is basically where you are like dynamic filmmaker with a track record in achieving, telling people's stories globally, 36 films, 12 awards, looking for the next opportunity in Milan. That would be like a about statement. That's not mine. So in order to write the about section, it's kind of the highlights of you professionally ever. And it should have like achievements that are kind of fact-based, like, you know, climb Mount Everest, won best employee 71 times, but should also have a bit of like what you care about. So it's a real mix of kind of objective, subjective, and yeah, it's hard. I gave this webinar with a similar webinar with Jayas, and the woman who was kind of co-hosting was like, only write this with a native English speaker. Like, don't try this unless you, you know, happen to know somebody who's a really good writer in English. You're not going to pull this off. So get help on this one, because it's like higher level writing. So here we have one, a fake one. No, this is, I know who this is. This is our friend, Nassim in this saga. Anyway, this is a real about statement. So marketing expert with a depth of experience in retail sales and marketing. So basic statement, this is who I am. Next statement is kind of like his brag point, like the most amazing thing he did. Joining a telecom startup during a period of rapid growth expanded my role to assume responsibility for the company's promotions, production brand identity, social media, and SEO support efforts. So that's like the greatest thing. That's the greatest evidence of his impact. Now we're sort of forward looking. It's like, okay, great, you did that. What do you want? What he wants. Having gained a holistic cradle to grave command over sales and marketing functions, kind of like the previous statement, eager to apply my skills and knowledge to a new and exciting challenge. A little bit generic, and you can kind of make the last bit a little more specific, like eager to join a mid-sized startup in the IT field as a program manager or something like that. So this he kept a bit general because it's on his LinkedIn profile, so it's not so tailored as it would be on a cover letter to a particular company. But that is a really good, you know, it's 3 sentences, statement of who he is, statement of impact, what he did, statement of kind of what he wants to do next. Woo! Thank God. Quiz break. So everyone unmute your microphones, because we have a quiz. Oh, Masjid.
That's okay.
Maral,
Yeah.
Arif Rizai. Here is our quiz. What should you not do in the about section? What's a no-no? And it's a hard one because I kind of like breezed over it. Okay, Khalil, Dr. Khalil.
As you said, we should avoid writing I in our about section.
Well
Yep,
done.
that's the answer.
That's the answer.
Yeah. You don't use I, it's a weird thing. And that's why it kind of takes like higher level English skills, because how do you write a sentence about yourself without using the word I?
Yeah.
It's a hard one. Another one is, and I didn't mention it in that slide, is avoid all those cliche phrases that people sort of think they have to use on LinkedIn. So like team player, change maker, you know.
My favorite, thought leader.
Thought leader, yeah. Like and people, it's not that people think, oh, I love cliches. There's kind of a misconception that if you don't put those words in there, that the algorithms that HR uses to find people won't identify you as a good person. And there are such algorithms, but they don't go